Well, what's up, guys? So in today's video, we're going to talk about Ford stock and whether Ford stock is a good buy. So I mentioned in my earlier videos why I simply dumped Ford stock earlier in the year. I was just kind of frustrated with the long-term charts. As you can take a look here, you can see over the last 5 years, Ford stock is actually down around 53%. And that's kind of in the same time period where Tesla is kind of traded at an inverted range. So if I just quickly pull up Tesla here on the chart, I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Uh, so what I'm using is I'm using TradingView. They're basically stock comparison software. So while over the last 5 years, while Ford stock is actually down 53%, Tesla stock is up 200%. So guys, for me personally, I'm more interested in Tesla stock, but I really wanted to just make this video talking about Ford to kind of give you guys some insight on the latest quarterly earnings report and whether or not there's some value at $5.30, because even though I'm really not interested in Ford stock as much as some other people are, I did see some interesting things in their latest quarterly report. So let's take a look at it right now. So guys, you can find this information if you simply head to Ford's investor relations site and check out their latest downloadable earnings report. So basically, Ford had a really terrible quarter. They lost $2 billion. And of course, a lot of this was due to basically losses in terms of the coronavirus thing, as they had to basically shut down factories and stop production and things like that. But they did bolster their cash position. They drew a $15 billion from an existing credit line, issued bonds, suspended the dividend, and suspended their share repurchases as well. So that's actually a really bad sign, because I just posted a video earlier on Walmart, who actually increased their dividend and increased their share buybacks. So that's one of the bad signs, guys. And those are the two main ways that companies return value to shareholders. Share repurchases basically make your stake worth more without you buying any additional shares. And dividends, of course, are little gifts that come into your account every 3 months, whether you do anything or not. So the problem with me with Ford is that I just think they're a little bit late when it comes to the transitional period in terms of electric vehicles. But I saw some really interesting things, guys, in their earnings report. So I'm going to highlight those things and why I think there is some value very long term in terms of Ford stock. When I'm talking long term, I'm talking probably 2022 and beyond. But for me, I'm more interested in Tesla. So let's just take a look at those numbers, guys. So one of the problems with Ford stock is that, while Tesla has been providing positive earnings, Ford lost a ton of money. And the reason why Ford is losing so much money is that they are just really behind the curve when it comes to the transitional phase that we're currently in for moving towards electric vehicles. Ford has been traditionally a truck manufacturing company, and they basically suspended making all passenger cars except for the Mustang. But they have a 6% market share, and their income was absolutely crushed in this Q1, and they also got rid of that dividend, guys. So that is a really bad sign for me. But I did see some nice things that are going to see some Ford. So basically, their first quarter numbers were absolutely awful, and we should expect these to rebound basically once they start operating the factories and stuff like that. But there are some key highlights. So these are kind of the measures they took to keep people safe. But I want to kind of talk about some of the forward-looking plans that I read in this report. Okay, so as you can see here they are. So what is wrong with Ford? Well, for me, Ford is basically run by out-of-touch baby boomers. And when I say that, I'm not saying that I'm not attacking baby boomers, but I'm just saying that nowadays, with baby boomers retiring and millennials filling up the workplace, you're going to have to start producing cars that millennials want to drive. And I think that's a key part that Ford is missing. So Ford really needs to get some youthful executives into the company and kind of drop this old way of thinking, because the way you make a car back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s is not going to be a way you're going to make a car in the 2020, 2030, and 2040. So as you can see, just to touch on Tesla again, Tesla made a Cybertruck and everybody thought they were crazy, yet pre-orders were through the roof. It's because Tesla is making cars for millennials, not baby boomers. But I do like some of the things I read here. So like I said, if we're looking at Ford, for example, in 2022, 2023, there are some positives. So as you can see, there's an all-electric Mustang Mach-E, which is a really, really nice car. I took a look at that car, guys. You can check that car out on Google. Very nice looking car. They're redesigning the F-150, featuring an hybrid electric version, small, rugged off-road utility vehicle. They're continuing to produce cars in China, which many will be electric versions of the Lincoln Corsair and Ford Escape, and much anticipated return of the Ford Bronco. So this is what we're looking for. It's just kind of sad that it took like a complete collapse of their income and their dividend and share repurchases and things like that for Ford to basically embrace these changes. They should have done these things a couple of years ago, and the stock price wouldn't have collapsed so much. So I would say Ford is about 2 to 3 years behind the curve when it comes to innovation. And that's basically one of the biggest problems we have. But the good thing about Ford is that Ford has always been a very conservative company in terms of their balance sheet, so that you don't have to worry about them going bankrupt. So as we take a look at their balance sheet right here, I want to tell you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So these are just basically their revenue numbers. As you can see, this is basically temporary. Of course, they're going to suffer a lot of losses during this pandemic. The company was really not really prepared, during this time, and they were already behind the ball. So as you can see here, these losses should be some of the worst you're going to see. You're going to see some of this continuation in the Q2 as well. But I think this is an opportunity if you're thinking the next 3 to 5 years on this stock. But let's take a look at this balance sheet. So one of the nice things about Ford is they've always been a pretty cash rich company. So they're holding about 25 billion in cash, and they have plenty of retained earnings. So even though those retained earnings is hit, they're still holding about 17 billion in retained earnings, which is a very good sign. So you don't have to really worry about Ford going bankrupt or anything like that. You were just worried about Ford. Is Ford going to get it right? Is Ford going to make the right type of vehicles for this decade that people want to purchase? So as we go back, I want to show you guys some other things, some interesting highlights as we kind of talked about whether Ford will stay afloat or not. So as we can see here, let's talk about their outlook. So this is what I'm saying is this a good time to buy Ford stock? Well, Ford stock is right now, it's the highest owned stock on the Robinhood platform. So I can show you guys how I got those numbers. I go to robintrack.net. You guys just head over to robintrack.net. As you can see here, Ford is the most popular stock owned on the Robinhood platform. So this is one of the reasons why I'm producing this video. So let's take a look at whether or not, after I laid out some of those things, how Ford has been hurt temporarily, but they have a nice cash balance and things like that, and plenty of things. What's their outlook going to look like? Well, it says here, in March, the company withdrew its guidance for 2020 financial performance. According to Stone, today's economic environment is too ambiguous to provide full year 2020 guidance. He said the company expects second quarter EBIT to be a loss of more than $5 billion. So another quarter of losses, guys. And Ford's actual results could differ materially from guidance due to risk, uncertainties, and other factors. So the company plans to report second quarter 2020 as of July 30th. So this could be another really bad quarter for Ford. And as you can see here, saying there is no grace period for transforming Ford. And that's basically what Ford needs. It needs a very, very serious transition. So what is my future price target on Ford stock? Well, I know a lot of you guys are saying, oh, it's so okay. So a lot of you guys are saying, oh, Ford stock is so cheap. They're not going to be producing cars and things like that. And you're right. So I do agree with you on that portion. So let's just take a look at the year-to-date chart. I can understand why people see Ford stock so attractive. They think, how could things get any worse? The stock's currently trading around $5.30. Where is the future price target for Ford? Well, for me, I have to see some changes first. Ford has been a company for me. They always have lots and lots of plans, but they're not executing on them very well. And they're still stuck in this hybrid like phase. For me, Ford needs to ditch the hybrids. They just need to go electric. I don't understand the hybrid concept. I think it's just delaying the inevitable. In 20 years, there probably won't be any gas cars probably on the road, or majority of the cars will not be gas. By 2050, probably nearly all cars will be electric. So what's the point of producing a hybrid car? I just don't understand. I don't get what Ford is trying to do. I don't understand how the hybrid cars are advantageous to a world that wants clean energy. So for me, it's kind of hard for me to get an outlook on Ford stock. I know Ford stock is cheap, but they never really back up any of their claims. It's just all hype. It's all promises, and we have these vehicles planned in this van, but nothing's being sold. Nothing's being produced. But I will say this, Ford is a very old company. They've been around for a long time, And there is some potential there, but guys, I want to lay things out with you straight and give you guys some real numbers on what Ford has done for shareholders over the long runs, and that's really the most important. Okay, so I'm at a Morningstar again. I love looking at Morningstar for trailing returns, and one of the problems I have with Ford stock is their trailing returns over the last 15 years are abysmal. So if you held Ford stock, you were getting basically, uh, 0.2% compounded annual growth over the last 15 years. I mean, you could have gotten that by just putting your money in a low interest checking or savings account, while as the market as a whole delivered 8% return. So for me, the problem with Ford is that they have lots of plans, but they just don't deliver on anything. And it's a lot more riskier to own Ford stock. And over the last 10 years, you've actually lost money on your investment. You're losing 1% a year. So it's like, why Ford has just been not delivering. So I'll give you guys a chart on Tesla. Okay, so now we look at the counter chart on Tesla. Tesla is returned compound annual growth 26%. So guys, that's one of the reasons why I own Tesla stock, not Ford stock. But I know a lot of you guys out there want a price target. So what I will say is look, to be honest, if Ford can implement these changes. So what changes am I talking about? Well, I'm going to go back to them again. If Ford can implement these changes, and what we're really looking for is electric. If Ford can electrify, I think that's the best way to phrase it like they have. If Ford can electrify their company, then I'm interested in the stock. But I've heard a lot of promises from Ford, and I haven't seen it. So for me, this stock right now is simply a hold. I don't think it's a strong buy. I don't think it's a strong sell. I think it's a hold because I want to see these changes. I want to see the promises that they made implemented. But if Ford can implement these changes, then I don't see any reason why the stock price couldn't at least return to back where it was, pre-coronavirus. So, it was basically at around $9, something like that, and I sold it when it was dipping down to about around $8 or so. So it basically, I think Ford shares are realistically about half off, 50% off. So there is some value there, guys, but I wouldn't get too bullish on Ford stock because there's a lot of competition from other companies. You've got Volkswagen out there, Tesla, of course. You have a lot of cars. General Motors is electrifying. So, you also have companies like NIO and things like that competing in China. So there's a lot of different options out here for the consumer. And I think Ford has lost so much brand loyalty over the years, even though my first car was a Ford, and I always have a small place in my heart for Ford stock. It's just been a shame to see such an iconic American brand kind of just deteriorate over the years and lose that touch. Saying that Ford made the first car, yet they are just one of the worst stocks that you could have owned over the last 15 years. So that's my 2 cents, guys. I would say Ford is probably a realistic target price for by the end of the year is probably around $10, assuming that the company has a much better Q3 when things kind of reset. So there is some short-term value here, guys, but for me, I'm on Tesla. I just think Tesla stock is just more realistic and just listening and better serving the consumer. And they're not messing around with gas guzzlers. They're going straight to electric vehicles, selling cars that millennials want to buy. Because when it comes to car companies, we want to buy stock in car companies that are making cars for millennials. Baby boomers are retiring. They're not buying cars anymore. So it's time to shift the focus to the millennial consumer. The millennials entering their late 20s, early 30s. They're looking to buy cars, buy houses, and things like that. That's the target market that these companies should be focusing on, not people that are facing retirement and going to be cutting their expenses. So I hope this provided a lot of value, guys. Be sure to watch the Ford price. I've constantly been making updated videos on Ford because I know a lot of you guys own the stock, and I've talked to some of you personally, and you guys are defending the stock. So I just wanted to put my opinion out there, and hopefully I provided some insight. But what I would do, especially as Ford, is keep reading those quarterly reports and make sure that they're backing up their promises because this stock has lost investors so much money. You just really can't afford to invest too much of your money in a company that's not delivering great results. So that's it for now, guys. Please thumbs up this video if you enjoyed my content and smash that red subscribe button for more videos on Ford and other car stocks as well because I'm going to be uploading videos to my channel every day. So be sure to be subscribed for more updates. So that's until next time, guys. Take care.